she's left the socks down to the toe, and then she was trying to pull that out. And I found out that, there's an easier way than that. Yeah, that bag makes a difference, getting them over his toe.
Huge, doesn't it? Yeah. In the hospital, they use
Once again,
powders,
Tony
but
Stevens
after
already added
surgery,
the
you
trailer
can't
off
just
before she gets the building
open.
permit.
Like if you're putting them on for edema or something, you don't have one, so they put
Yeah,
powder.
at least she's getting one.
Yes,
Yeah, he's got that.
and then I can get to the assessor's office and get taxed accordingly, because those are all.
Hey, Mary Jo.
Brochures and stuff.
Dad complained of that worse than he did his chest. He did too.
You know, they had to do both legs on him, and it was just like, because one side of the veins weren't that.
Okay.
Yes, I had something wasn't working, and I was like, actually, I was texting and nobody responded. I'm like, can anybody hear us? And nobody responded, but yeah. Rodney came in and he's like, I didn't have any sound last night. I'm like, I know, I just don't know what was wrong with it. But it looks like it's good now, so
I figured it was.
Let's take a moment and pray before we get started.
technical difficulties right here.
Father, thank you for your grace and your mercy. Thank you for the gift of salvation. And Father, I lift up the city government. I lift up the city council as they meet tonight. Father, I pray that you would give wisdom as they discharge their duties. And Father, I lift up the city employees as they go about their business during the course of this week. Father, I pray for those that are out in the streets, digging and working. Father, I pray that you would keep them safe. I pray that you would keep me and everyone else that's driving past them vigilant as we drive past. And Father, I pray that this construction season would come and go and there would be no serious injuries. Father, I pray that everything that is done here tonight would glorify your Son's name. And in his name I pray, amen.
Amen. Call the meeting to order and begin with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There's nothing to add or delete from the agenda, so I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
So moved.
I'll second. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes or the agenda as printed. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Approval of the minutes. They're found on pages 1 through 3. Are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes as printed.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as printed. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Public input. Has anybody got anything to say talk about that's not on the agenda? If not, I do. We are, from here on in, we are not, once we start on the agenda, public input is over with.
You mean I can't ask any questions?
What's that?
You can during public input, he's saying at the end of when tonight's over, when the meeting's over, you can't get up and, you can during public input anytime.
We had
Yep.
someone last meeting that got up after after we were adjourned and everything, And they went on and on and on and on, and we don't want that anymore.
But when you're presenting stuff, I can ask questions, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there any other questions about that? If not, we'll start with unfinished business with number 1. And that's Crystal Park extended stay. Now what? The signage up there says that you got 72 hours to stay. We looked at this last week. And there's it was discussed about whether we should let people park their camper and stay there for a longer period of time than the 72 hours. Well, there's been a lot of talk about it, so I think we need to take a look at this. And I think we ought to limit this. Now, this is just me talking. Because if somebody wants to stay a month, we have people that rent out camper spots for a month for so much a day. I believe that when Crystal Park put in those camper spots up there, that the main reason they were put in there was as a courtesy service for people coming through. Now from there, that's all I've got to say about it. So, do we want to change what we did a week ago or a month ago?
Is there a set price for staying at the park? Or is it just donations?
What's that?
What we've done in the past, we have family or something that comes for a week's time. Pheasant season, for instance, 5-day season. If they're here on 2 seasons, it's 2 5-day seasons, or it could be a 10-day, one right after another 5-day season. So we were trying to accommodate that originally. We had a guy that donated several $1,000s to the bathroom. 2 different people actually gave several $1,000s to the bathroom with the idea they would stay there.
So are you gonna open that up to everybody who wants to?
Well, it's kind of one of them deals, they always contact me or the park person and come up with kind of an idea how long they're gonna be, you know, and if they give some money. Last year I had a guy call me, wanna know if he could. I said, yeah, and I come and check, and he gave $200 a month. He said that he would actually be in favor if it would be a little more than that.
So are there any camping areas in Miller? Does anybody have camping sites anymore?
Yes, I think Gnott's do,
Shirley Peck. and
Shirley
St.
Peck
Lawrence.
and St. Lawrence.
Dewdrops,
So there's a few. Yep.
So what does if we open up the park for anybody to park there, what does that do for those businesses? I guess that's something to think about, I guess.
We don't wanna be in competition with them businesses.
No.
Yeah,
This is a courtesy, if you're coming through, you get to stay and most of the time, them people buy groceries, they eat downtown, buy gas, then they're on their way.
so if that's the case, then we shouldn't be accommodating anybody to stay longer than the 72 hours, correct?
I go for a walk down through the park almost every day. In the last 6 days for sure, and possibly 7 or 8, there's been at least 3 campers parked there, same ones.
Yeah, I just drove down through there, and I know the one has been there at least a couple weeks,
That one is the one that gave the money.
yeah.
Well, for the construction crew that comes in.
Yeah,
I think you're opening up a big can of worms to, if you don't set a limit, cause if you do it for one, you have to do it for all.
Exactly, that's,
Yep.
and the signage does say 72 hours.
What the guys that have done in the past, they've talked with me, I said, just not over big weekends like Memorial Day, Labor Day, Fourth of July, because you do sometimes get busy to not do competition with them.
I don't know, it's up to you guys what you do, but that's just,
I don't think you ought to create competition to the people that are selling
And
campers.
I'm not looking at it that way, I'm looking at somebody down there giving the city money, I guess that's how I look at it.
And if I'm not mistaken, the 72 hours came into play when we had that transient family that stayed there, and they were there for, what, a month or something like
Well, it
that?
was a couple weeks, but they were bringing truckloads of lumber down there.
Yeah, they were,
Trees and limbs
you know,
yeah,
they were kind of a menace.
if you ever wanna see Gordy do that, just have Gordy do that.
I'll bet.
So that's how that 72-hour thing came into play, that's to the best of my recollection.
I just found in the codes where it said a maximum of 7 days. Checking it out.
A lot of, like, back when Gus was around, they'd make accommodations for him, and I was just kind of following, that's kind of what he did, nobody ever had a problem. So I-
Yeah. Yeah, it's changed.
I'll make a motion to table this and have the park committee look into different options.
Okay, we have a motion on the phone to table this and have the committee look into this and give a recommendation. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, Tammy pointed out that there is, in our ordinances, there's a maximum stay of 7 days unless there's prior approval from the park manager or the street superintendent. That's what's currently in our ordinances, so if there's going to be a change to that, we will need to have an ordinance to change that, so. But that's what, I was just trying to.
Is there a date on that at all, when that ordinance was?
I just shut it.
7/16 of 2018.
Okay,
Okay.
oh, that would have been probably,
That might have been the day.
yeah.
and it doesn't necessarily need to be changed, but the committee needs to look at what you guys wanna do. And then it should be the same for everybody.
We try to make, I've always made it fair.
Yeah,
I'm not about you getting $3 off from anybody else, that's,
I don't care
I've
what
never
you do,
been-
it's just I
Yeah.
happen to, and I know the signage says 72 hours. So,
the one time I put it up and then they told me to take it down and it just, I get this, there's multiple directions that this can be.
I have friends that come and use this park
Yep.
every summer, they stay a few days and they really enjoy it because we have a nice town, they like the park, they can go swimming.
Yep.
Is there any more discussion? We got a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any more discussion? If not, all those in, and the motion is to table it. It's been seconded. The motion is to table this issue until, and have the committee meet on it and give us a recommendation. So, is it, any more discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Number 2, unfinished business. It's Camden Hofer, SPN, Phase 3 update, and Phase 4 questions.
Hi, everybody. So Miller Phase 3, that's the current construction project going on right now. They are roughly about half done with the project, construction-wise. And when we started this project, we were kind of low on funds for contingencies and extras, so we've always been struggling with that. Basically, the money's used up on that project for what's coming up. And there's been different little things added on the project, so we're to a point where we have to cut some things out. And we're just working with the utility committee to decide how to do that, but there'll be a few blocks of street that'll just have to not get paved at the end of the project, so we have enough money to do everything. About 4.5 blocks, I think, is what I figure. Paving starts tomorrow again for this next round. Any questions on phase 3? I didn't have a real detailed agenda here with that.
Do you know which 4 blocks those are?
Nope, we gotta decide that.
We better talk it over with Ron. See which ones would be the best to do that with.
Okay, can I go to phase 4? So you guys have a fairly nice funding offer from DANR. If I calculate what the user rates would be just to pay the loan that DANR is offering, it's about $10.76 to pay off that. That's my calculation, to pay off the loans for DANR. Now, that project cost is obsolete because since that estimate was put together, things have just, costs went way up. So we did another evaluation where we had rural development look at some costs, and they said they'd throw in a little bit over $1 million of extra grant money. And if you evaluate the rural development, the same loan that you got from DANR, just evaluate that money coming from rural development, you'd save about $2 per connection per month. It's just a cheaper loan because the interest rate is a little bit less and it's a longer term. But unfortunately, to do the project, we would have to add to the project cost to get the funding up where we need it now to do the project. And that's up to you guys to decide how much funding you want to go for. It's hard to keep track of construction costs nowadays because things are just going up all the time. It seems like it's going high. It's outpacing inflation for sure. But the thing I think you guys will want to decide tonight is just if you want to do the project. And if you want to do the project, in my opinion, you'll want to go get the rural development funding because you get $1 million extra grant dollars. So it's worth it to me. That's really a no-brainer to me. And then we can just decide later how much, if you want to fund the whole thing, we can decide later how much you want to go with that. But that's what I'd recommend is we have the chance now to get the money that you need, so that would be the thing to do. Any questions you guys have for me?
How much additional are you talking about?
Well, I'm figuring roughly 20% that in my last few projects that I've been about 20% low. And these are estimates that were done around beginning of April. It's hard to imagine things have went up that much in just a month or so, but that's almost an extra $1 million. So what that would do then, if you went for rural development funding, is the loan would go from, right now you have a $2.1 million loan from DANR. We'd bump that up to about a $3.1 million loan from rural development. And then if you did that, it would be about $3 more than what the DANR package is. But we don't know if you bump the costs up, they may give you more grant money then too, and so that might work in your favor. And so it's kind of a guess right now. But again, we can figure out the scope if that's just too. That's getting to be a big project now. I'm at $7.3 million for what I think the whole thing would cost right now. And that's bigger than all your other phases right now, so. It's getting, I could see why you might wanna scale that back. And there's ways to do that. The thing we wanna decide tonight is if you wanna accept the DANR package relating to the grant money. And then DANR said you can get your loan wherever you want. And so then you can get that from rural development and do a different package through them.
So we have a couple new people on council since this was brought to us. They probably don't have much of an idea of what this phase 4 consists of. Can you kind of nutshell this on what this phase is going to include and how important it is?
Yep, so the first project is to abandon the wells. There's some wells in town that just aren't ever gonna be used again and haven't been used for a long time, so they have to properly be capped off and just environmentally friendly go in and clean them out. Then the next thing is, that's $59,000. The next thing is water storage improvements. So these 2 tanks out here need to have mixers in them. The mixers just help improve water quality and keep the water clean and flowing through them real well. Then there's some maintenance that needs to happen on this older ground storage tank. There's some sealing that needs to happen in the cracks and just some different little things that maintenance is needed over time. That's $206,000. Then is we'll call it the water main loop on the south end of town. Water main is extended on East 3rd Avenue to the 4-H ground. And then it kind of makes a dead end over there, and that's not really good on water mains, so we want to just loop that around back over to the highway. That is $350,000 roughly. $350,000. Yep.
We're gonna loop that around the highway, then do you hook it onto something back onto the main?
Yeah, there's the other main.
Okay.
Next to the highway.
Okay.
And then there's a sanitary sewer project we're looking at by the school that extends, that red line there, extends to the east of the school. That would take care of some very shallow sewers on Donlin Street. It would provide a future means of connecting sewer if that area ever develops there, east and north of the school. That's about $1 million. Because it's really deep. And then the big one is the rest of the water main in town, all the old asbestos pipe, which Terry was just telling me, I didn't even know this, but there's gonna be some regulations coming where you guys are everybody in the state is gonna have to monitor their old asbestos and lead lines more closely coming up in the future, just because it's a...
By 2024, you gotta know where all your lead lines and asbestos pipe is. Everybody's gotta do it.
The asbestos pipe is semi-hazardous material, and it works fine to carry water if you don't touch anything, but as soon as you go in and disturb the pipe and cut it, then you've got the asbestos stuff to deal with.
That's usually where your water main breaks are, is on that stuff.
So we'd be ahead of that curve if we, yeah.
And so that one is 4.45 million, just about 4.5 million. And again, these prices are all a little bit old. I think I am planning to assume that they're about 20% higher now than what I just told you. That's why I'm up around 7.3 million, just for round numbers.
And that's the total
would have how much of a surcharge?
It would be about $13 total to pay off the loan that we think you'd need for that. And then you'd split that up, water and sewer, and you'd restructure your rates. So I'm not privy to all the information of how you can restructure, because your rates are already up higher than what you need them, a little bit. And so you could restructure and build some of your excess into that. I don't know if Shayla can speak to that, but if you're just looking at strictly paying off the loan, it's about $13 worth. Compared to right now, the DANR package is $10.76. So we'd be looking at, not quite $3 more.
$3 more
Two and a quarter more for the
On
whole.
top of the 10.
on the,
For the whole project, getting up to speed, increase the cost, and go with RD, the whole package.
That would be in addition to what we're paying now.
Yeah, but like I was saying, there's some restructuring that can go on. So within that $13, some of that money could come from existing rates to some extent, and I didn't get into figuring all that out.
But there's a possibility it could be $13 more in surcharge a month.
I don't think it would be that high. I'm just strictly evaluating the cost to the user if you were gonna pay the whole loan with these loans, but in reality, you're not gonna do that because there's some money in the system that you'd use.
For some people, it can help.
And if we move forward with this application to rural development and we don't like the package that comes back, we're still stuck for $10,000 for your part of the application process?
Yeah, somehow engineering would need to recoup the cost of doing the study that we gotta do, because there's a lot of work that goes into that. So I think that would be correct.
And you think that's around $10,000 or?
That would be the study phase that rural development needs to do the funding package. That's correct.
They can't use the same stuff that they sent to DA, and RD requires a lot more detail than what DA, so he has to start over. And then add more cost analysis to it.
But you wouldn't see that $10,000 cost, because we would just build it into
the
the
loan.
phase 4. I mean, it would just be, and we wouldn't increase it for that either. It's just gonna be part of our service to you as part of that project.
so when do they know all that by?
Do you wanna talk about the timing of the interest rate thing?
I talked to Allison from RD today, about 5 o'clock. We have until at the extreme latest, June 1st, to get all the application stuff done, for Camden to get his work done, for Ted Dickey to get his stuff done, because interest rates are going up July 1st. And June 1st is the extreme latest that they will let us get in an application. They would like it earlier, but that's 2 weeks away. So that's not much
So
time.
we pretty much need to decide tonight.
You have to decide tonight, yay or nay, with real, I mean, if we don't push, we have no idea what the rates will be after July 1st. She was guessing 3 to 3.5, but she said, I have no idea because they're literally changing day by day right now. So she said it could be a lot more than that. She just was like, I know for sure it's not gonna be close to the 2, it's currently at 2%, so,
Yep.
for RD.
You're gonna talk at least 50% more probably.
Yes, at least 50% more on interest, minimum, possibly double.
Maybe scale it way back if you want later, right?
I think we'd work with, yeah.
So,
At that point, if we don't make it for the rural development lower interest rate, it almost seems like maybe you wanna just,
Take what we get from RD and RDNR and
yeah.
scale it back now.
I think the best option would be to just go for it, just try to get it as quick as you can and get in there and get that money. But if it doesn't work, then we gotta go to Plan B probably, cause I don't think you guys would wanna do a more expensive loan and just have your rates that much higher. I mean, that's the purpose of the skepticism I feel of this whole thing, is because the rates are gonna go up. And we don't want them to do that.
So we would be in for about $10,000, say like if we just decided not to do it because of funding we're getting, we would be out $10,000 for reapplying to a different, is that correct?
Well, here's what I don't wanna see happen with this. Ever since we started this, phase 3 was gonna be it. Now, we promised everybody if we went to phase 4, we wouldn't go if there was a raise on surcharges. Now, we did raise bury the cable, electrical cables, and we dropped the rates to equal the surcharges, so we didn't raise anybody's bill. I'm all for doing this, but I'm not in favor of doing it if we're gonna raise people's bills very much.
Well, we've also got more than likely, a water rate increase coming from Mid-Dakota.
Probably, I don't know for sure, but.
and most likely a electric rate increase because of the drought factor. If there isn't any water going through the dam and we don't get our WAPA has to go out and buy power on the open market, then they in turn charge us for what they call a drought factor. So we're gonna see rates go up even without surcharges.
But do we wanna risk having to replace asbestos pipe on our own?
When that comes up, don't you think that there'll be grants available for that, as there has been everything else that? you have
It just
to
depends
correct?
on the interest rate, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the lowest the interest has been. We had, it was in that 4% and 5% for a lot of years. We really lucked out with all of our phases so far of having our interest so low.
From DANR, the interest rate on the water side is 1.875 for this project.
Right. You're not gonna see it that low for a lot of years, probably.
The interest rate is a really low interest rate. But for the increase in the cost of the materials that have gone up, that makes a huge factor too, you're saving a lot of money on interest, but the project's doubled.
Unless you have a magic ball telling you what the costs are gonna do, that's.
Right.
Nobody knows. A lot of people I talk to think it's not gonna come back down. It'll just kind of stabilize, but not gonna get back down to where it was, but again, nobody really knows.
But if we went forward, found out what we got for a funding package, sat down and went through our rates thoroughly after we know what we would have for loans and grants, we could decide at that time.
And then you're only gonna be out, if you decide not to, you're only gonna be out the $10,000.
Exactly. Rather than being out, saying no right now and we're out millions of dollars of grants and a low interest rate.
Well, and if we checked out with the RD to see what we would get, and we didn't wanna go with the whole package, would we be able to break it out?
I think to some extent you can scale back the project. The funding ratios of loan and grant might
stay.
skew a little bit. They might stay, or maybe the percentage, you know, like if you just took $1 million off the project, it wouldn't be $1 million of loan that you're, I mean, that, you know what I mean? It's gonna be
Percentage.
the same percentage, or it might skew a little bit out of your favor where you're giving up a little more grant than what you want to. That's usually how they do it.
So they could decide to do it now and back out later if they had to.
Yes,
If we decided to go forward with it now, you can lock those rates in.
yeah.
If we
And-
get it done by June 1st, we can lock the rates.
If we get
Yeah.
the application and all that done.
Right.
And then what we could do then is, once you know the rural development package and you have the rates all figured out, maybe there's a certain rate, if that's your goal or something, and we could just scale back the project at that time to a level to keep your rates at a certain, you know, whatever it is that you want.
I don't see how our rates can afford any moving around. Our the water department's already barely breaking even every year. Electric department's doing a lot better. We had room to move their rates around. Our water and sewer, they need a few years off of projects to start putting some money away so we can start fixing all this stuff when it goes bad again in 50 years.
Well, we have, in the water and sewer, we have a maintenance budgeted for maintenance. Last year, that was hardly used. With doing this project, our maintenance is coming to 40–50% less than it used to be.
Well, how long would it take to get this deal figured out with the rates and everything to where we know what the final figure would be?
I think we'd need to get rural development's final information, and to do that, we'd have to do the study, have that all submitted, and go through all the motions of doing the application and all that stuff. Cause rural development won't really give out their final numbers until all that information is available.
Can it all get done by June 1st?
That'll be tough, but I'm a little bit skeptical, not saying that you're wrong, Shayla.
Right,
But when you said June 1st, I got a different answer
right, from a different person.
from a different person.
Right, so
And
I'm
so
hoping
I
that-
think, kinda like maybe a little bit off the record, that we have more time, I think. But that's my opinion, but we'll try as hard as we can to get it going.
And we do know that it won't be above $10,000 to redo this.
No, that's the cost that we would give you in an agreement to do the study. Would be $10,000.
And we would get an agreement from you guys.
Yes.
to sign at the next meeting, probably.
Well, I think if we're,
Shayla, accept the map of what we're gonna do for phase one. Could you have, so that's, sign the paperwork and stuff? Pre-position of that?
I think I sent you that already.
I think he sent it to both, to news.
When, it was a few months ago. I don't
I'll look
remember.
back and spec. Thank you.
Yeah, let me know, I can send it again.
This has just got tied onto my Google Earth here, so I can just take a screenshot.
I agree.
So with what we need to decide tonight is basically if we're gonna go forward with RD applications at a cost of $10,000.
Only if we say no. If they go through all the work and then we don't do the project, then it'll cost us $10,000.
Right.
If we do the project, it won't.
That'll blend into the,
It's part of their engineering fees that will be part of phase 4.
And if we only do part of the project, it's,
No problem.
Yeah.
That'll be fine, yep. We can scale it back at the same, that 10,000, you still won't see that price.
So, say we go ahead and accept all this, get more grant from another entity, and accept this, at what point in time, how much does it cost before we get to bid? Before we go to bid, I mean, to bidding, how much is the engineering, doing all the specs it takes to get to bid?
So we would give you an engineering contract before we get started to do the design of phase 4. And the design costs would all be due before, or at the time of bidding. That's how that would work, and that would probably be this winter or the end of this next, March or something like that next year. That's about the timing of it, unless you wanted to wait a little bit longer.
So basically, we're locking in interest on the loans that we're doing right now. And then when we go to the bid, it could be any amount. It could be higher, same, or whatever, right?
Right, the bid is just what it is at the time, depending on the available contractors and materials and everything, so we have no control over that. And that's why we're trying to guess the best we can of what the cost is gonna be, but lately I've been low all the time. It's just always going up.
Thank you.
So I asked you a question over the phone. If this all goes forward and we go to bid, can we pick and choose what projects are the highest priority?
Yeah, so what we're doing on these projects that have bid recently that we don't have the funding to do the whole thing is we work with the cities to figure out what the most important part of the project is, and the lesser important projects we just cut out of the project. And so unfortunately, you'll have some things that maybe you wanna get done that you just can't get done, but yeah, you can scale back the project to use just the funding that you have and not necessarily go dip into the city's funds or things like that. Does that answer your question?
So we need a motion to either accept or,
Like $10,000 is a drop in the bucket compared to millions of dollars.
compared to what you could lose.
And if there's a chance you can redo it to where possibly you won't be raising the surcharges that much. I don't know.
That's what you need to find out.
and we won't know that unless we go forward.
Spend the $10,000, basically.
So it could just cost us $10,000.
So when would we know the next, if we get that other grant/loan from that other people?
I think it'll be relatively quickly, maybe the end of June or would be my guess.
And it's $1 million more that we can get, that if we get this through RD, that they throw in for it.
So it was, again, it was based on an old estimate that's now obsolete. Sorry, but it's just, it's hard to keep track of all these cost estimates because every month they go up. But that rural development estimation was about $1.1 million that they would give you of additional grant on top of DANR's grant money, which I can't remember how much that was exactly.
So it's 1.1 million additional grant funds.
Yep.
Well, that was great.
Plus their loan is a little bit cheaper interest rate and 4 years instead of 30 years, so the surcharge would be spread out. If we're talking apples to apples, the same amount of funding.
That's 3 million gallon grant.
The hardest part of this is the adding more surcharges. I just don't know how much.
Yeah, and especially if electric's gonna go up and Mid-Dakota's gonna go up, that's gonna be over and above that also.
Exactly. Yeah, and right now, I think a lot of people are having a hard time with making things work out. Want them to stay living in Miller instead of going someplace else.
Unfortunately, I don't think there's any place in South Dakota you can go without having the same issue. Pretty much everybody's gonna be doing their infrastructure. Or they need to if they haven't yet.
Well, actually, the only thing we're out here, if we go with this rural development deal, the worst thing is the $10,000, right?
Now, you're saying there's a chance that the grants could get increased some also due to construction costs?
Yeah, so what we do is, in the study that we do for $10,000, is we'd come up with a new cost estimate and revisit the whole phase 4 project and get the cost up to date, what we think it is now. And so that's what would be funded through rural development. And then they would add to the DANR current grant money. And so the other bad thing that happens is the costs are gonna go up because you wanna fund the whole project with current today's dollars versus if you just go forward with, let's say, the DANR package, then we're gonna have to cut the project way back because you don't have enough money right now. And so that could be an option too, is maybe even with the rural development package, maybe you guys wanna scale back and just not do as big of a project. That can be an option.
Or in other words, then we could scale this back some if we needed to get the payments back on the loan lowered.
Yep.
So then we could pick and choose what we wanted to do to not add a surcharge. Or the very, very minimum.
Well, you can't do a project that has no loan. But if you scale the whole thing down where your grant drops way down and your loan drops down, that means you're giving away free money, which
Yeah.
that's the price you pay to get your loan down and your surcharges down.
And the surcharge is a requirement of the loan. Even if we had enough cash in our, we would still have to add a surcharge for the loan. That's not an option, because that's part of the loan requirements, is that we have a surcharge to pay back that loan.
So like if we would, like you say, if we had money that we could use to pay it down, pay the loan down, and then the surcharge could go down? If we had it made it so that the loan wasn't as big?
Up front, yes, if we had cash up front.
Okay,
But if we take out the full loan,
right,
that surcharge doesn't go down until it's paid in full.
okay.
So I mean, we're more than welcome to pay them off, which we've done a few loans to date, we've paid off, but it doesn't reduce the surcharge until the loan's gone.
Okay.
But if we pay it down, I mean, if we had cash on hand and we wanted to put, $200,000, $300,000 into the project
Right.
and not take as much loan. But that's also, percentage-wise, it's gonna reduce our grant.
Yeah, okay.
Well, from what I see, the lesser amount of maintenance, since we got phase 2 pretty well, done. I believe that'll make a difference in this case to do. I think we'll be able to do what we did with the electrical deal, that we'll be able to scale the rate back.
Until the price of the actual product goes up. like if Mid-Dakota increases their charges, there won't be much, it's gonna go up,
Mhm. And we have to go up.
and, yeah.
And that would be part of the study, by the way, is we would do a rate study to try to predict what the rates would be. We can't know perfectly in the study because we don't know exactly the package of funding that you'll get, but we can try to predict that.
Well, you know, that same deal applies with the interest rates too, because if you're borrowing all the money and the product costs twice as much, it's gonna cost you twice as much interest. It's just like the interest going up twice.
I'll make a motion that we go forward, with RD and see where we're at as far as further grants.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to go ahead with rural development application and then see how we are, what the final outcome with the grants and things are. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to go through with the rural development application and see how we come out with the grants and all that. Now, is there any more discussion? If not, we're gonna vote by roll call.
Can I ask a question? Can the engineering agreement be part of that too? So we don't have to have you guys approve the agreement later? We can just get going on
That's
the
the
study?
engineering
Yeah, on
contract.
the study, the $10,000 thing? Was that your intent in the motion? Is to
So
have,
that could get approved,
Yeah,
so
cause
it can get
we're
going.
not gonna go anywhere if we don't.
Yeah, you gotta do that.
So-
Yeah.
so as soon as we get you the agreement, you can sign it, cause this motion will include that.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Shayla, you want to amend the motion?
So yeah, let's do an amended part. So Tammy, it's okay for your motion to be that go forward with the RD and the SPN application and the agreement.
So we can't go anywhere if we don't.
Mhm.
Is that okay for the second with you, Jim?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, we're gonna amend the motion then. We're gonna amend it with that it also includes SPN's engineering, a $10,000 engineering contract. Okay, any more discussion? Okay, we're gonna vote then. We're gonna vote by roll call and I'm starting with Schwartz.
Nay.
Zeller,
Aye.
Odegaard,
Aye.
Wentz,
Aye.
Alderwoman Lexi,
Aye.
Alderwoman Harkins.
Aye.
Hearing 5 ayes and 1 nay. Motion carried by a majority ballot. Motion carried.
Are you done with
And
me?
I will.
I think so.
Okay, the
Thank
next
you.
thing on here is world, well, we took care of that.
Yeah.
Number one on new business. DANR grant agreement, page 4. Guess we're not doing it,
What else she sent?
And this is for
Do we need to do anything with that, Cheryl?
This is just for the DANR grant agreement, so if we're gonna plan on going forward, we can accept the grant, but they have not sent us the loans, cause we don't know if we're gonna take their loans or not. So this is just to go forward with the grant, or the different grants that they've offered us.
But it's not a long-term commitment, it's just,
No, if we don't draw on the grants, I mean, if we nix the project,
right.
we'll have to reverse this.
So in the process of reversing, what is, it's just a matter of at a meeting, just say
Yeah.
we're declining the grant,
Yeah,
so we won't,
So this is accepting the grant?
this is accepting the grant as if we're going forward on
Okay.
phase 4 to keep our name on that money trail.
And if we don't go forward with this later and we reverse it, is that the same consequences as our bike path issue?
I don't know, I can ask Drew that question tomorrow. I don't know if that'll,
as far as
'Cause
being
that
at
makes
risk
a
for other
huge
grants.
difference.
yeah,
And it does.
Yeah, because then if you accept it and then decline it,
And if it's gonna raise surcharges higher and the water goes up and electrical goes up,
so is this grant tied in with our CARES Act or American
Yes.
Rescue Plan? And if we don't, so sometime, at some time, we decide not to take this grant, we get that money back?
yes,
Okay.
yes. That money is actually gonna, in our coffers, they don't have that, it's our money here. So we would be paying that out of our pocket, cause they've already given us that grant money, so. But if you want me to ask that question, we can table it for another 2 weeks, and I can ask Drew if that will affect our future.
when do we have to know this by?
This one doesn't have as strict of a deadline because they know that we are going to rural development.
So what I'm wondering is, can we wait until that study's done
I can
before
ask,
we ever accept this? Because if we accept it, then decline it, then it puts us on the
I'll
lead
ask him
list.
if there's that, if we can go out that long, if we can go like till July 1st or whatever, if
Right.
there's some sort of a deadline. So we can, if we wanna table it till that time,
Let's just table it until that time. I entertain a motion to it.
I'll make a motion, we table the DNR grant agreement.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Then, we have a motion and a second to table the DANR agreement, grant agreement. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Pool manager. Sydney Johnson.
all right. Is our pool rates enough to cover our water
Water.
and sewer?
It's all on you.
We probably won't need lifeguards, so we
No
won't have
pressure.
swimming.
So we're getting started on the pool. First, we have 13 guards this year, so a bit more than normal, but I think it'll be good because of all the, just like the summer camps and stuff that all the guards have. We have, I talked with Ryan Fisher again, and we have someone coming down from Sioux Falls on June 3rd and 4th to train all of our guards that have not been trained yet or that need recertified. And then we're shooting for like June 5th, 6th, around that time for an opening date. I would try to do like June 1st, but then we would have to open it for like 2 days and then close it for the lifeguard training and then open it back up, so I was just gonna go with the 5th or 6th. We do have the band trip for all the high school students, starts on the 5th, I believe, they all head out on the 5th. But I don't think that will be an issue, like we shouldn't have to change hours or anything of the pool like they did 4 years ago. Because we have a number of guards that are not like band required, so they're not going on the band trip. So that won't be a problem. One thing that I was gonna propose is that we up the cost of our private lessons that we offer right now for swimming lessons. I've thought they're a little low for like the past couple years. And I work at the wellness center in Brookings, and just looking at their rates of what they go for private lessons and stuff. I think we should up them a little bit, especially because last year we had, I don't remember the exact number, but it was around 60 to 70 private lessons for the whole summer. And that's usually people get about 5 sessions per kid. So that's a lot of private lessons. And I've also changed this summer. We usually do 4 sessions of swimming lessons for 2-week sessions. But this year I've cut it down to 2 or 3 swimming lesson sessions, just because it takes a lot of time to do private lessons, and we had to like find time to do that when we had 4 sessions. So I think it'll be easier to find time to do those private lessons if we don't have as many group lessons, because just judging from past years, a lot of families prefer private lessons over the group lessons. So I was proposing that we just up the price of private lessons, because right now they are $15 a session. And I was proposing that we up them to around $20 or $25 a session, because I think just of the convenience of the private lessons, families will pay for them regardless of the price, just because of how convenient they are.
What are the group lessons? What's, if they're in a group session, are you still doing group sessions?
Group sessions, Shayla and I talked, we might, since I already had to post like the costs of all that stuff in like the summer rec guide, so we might leave those for this summer, but then like go back to those next summer. But for group sessions, it depends on the level, but I believe level 1 and 2 is about $25 for 8 sessions, and 3 through 7 is $30. Preschool levels are $20, and then water babies and aqua tots is $15 for 8 sessions for all of those.
Which were also substantially lower than other areas. We haven't raised those for
Yeah,
a lot of years.
every year that I've worked at the pool, they've never changed, so. And we're going on year 5 now, so.
So thoughts on private lesson amount?
Yeah, so I guess all we need is just approval of the cost of private lessons.
What are they in Brookings?
In Brookings, they're $25 a session, so.
That's if you're a member of the wellness
Yeah, if
club.
you're a member of the wellness center, they're $30, but if you're not, they're up
30, I think.
$30 a session, so. I haven't looked around at other like local pools, but I would assume they're higher than what we have.
How many do you have attending the private lessons?
Last year we had like 60 to 70,
That was a lot.
a lot.
And
Private
last week, it
lessons.
was like they worked.
Yeah, so we have like 60 to 70 kids that take private lessons, but with those 60 to 70 kids, they also get like 5 sessions each. So
Is that one-on-one?
That takes a lot of time.
And that's $15 per session? Okay.
how long is a session? 30 minutes.
Sydney, I missed what the private party was.
We're just talking about like private swimming lessons, increasing the cost of those.
What's the current rate then?
The current rate is $15 for one session.
I mean, like a private party, like church rents the swimming pool for, I don't know, for
Oh.
nightly things, something like that.
That's like a pool party?
Yeah.
That's like $100.
$100
Yeah.
for 1 hour or 2 hours?
2 hours.
Did you do many of those?
Quite a few. Not a whole lot, but.
There's like the standard ones. It seems like they come back every year.
Yeah, yeah, we got our list.
If you raise the private lessons to 25, you still have all those other groups that isn't as expensive, so if people chose not to pay for private lessons, they could still go to the group session.
And I personally, I prefer, when kids do group lessons over private lessons, but I know there are like some kids that cannot do group lessons, so.
I'll make a motion that we raise private lessons to $20 an hour or session.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to raise private lessons from, what was it?
15 to 20.
20. From $15 to $20. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried.
When is your open house?
Our open house is, next Wednesday, the 25th, from 11 to 1 and 4 to 7.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we'll go to number 3, which is Nan Donlin, PEO Free Library.
Hi, I am Nan Donlin, and I am representing the Miller PEO group. We've been asked, or have been approached by some people at our library. Last year, they were kind of disappointed that Miller didn't have a little free library in our park. And so we thought, well, that'd be a good service project for our group to do. So, what I'm here tonight is to ask permission if we could put 2 of our libraries in the park. It kind of looks like this.
You can take a book and bring one back.
Yeah, we have the books already, but, yes, you take a book, and they're free, and you don't have to bring it back, but if you do, that's fine. If not, a lot of people, you'll see them in different yards, and people here, not here in Miller, but in other places. Actually, there's one in St. Lawrence.
Yeah, there is one. in St.
So, I happen to have a carpenter at my house, and he's made a couple of these libraries for us. And so we have 2 spots picked out, if it's okay, and we just look down there. On the northeast corner of the bathhouse, which is on the concrete, in the main part of the park, near the picnic tables and the swing sets, there's a good corner there we could put a steel post and
anchor it into the concrete, so that way you wouldn't have to mow about it. And then up by the camping area, there's a post that has the light on it, where people check in and they check out things. It's that first post on the.
It's a donations, that's got
They
the
have the
donation.
donation one
box.
right there.
Okay,
And that's a nice sturdy, light pole,
okay.
and we could mount one there. We wanted to put some South Dakota books in there, there also, of course, lots of children's books, but then adult books in there, and then, we would be in charge of the upkeep, making sure it's sturdy, you know, making sure that it's filled, and, you know, if there's something that needed to be done, we of course would take care of it. So there'd be no financial part for the city, we would just need your permission to do it.
Can people leave books in there if they want?
Sure, if there's room, yes. Yeah. It says in the things that we've read, about 30 books, it'll hold about 30 books. Yeah. And it's, you know, we have it watertight and a steel roof on it, so that, you know, hopefully the rain won't get at it.
I think that's a great idea.
Mhm.
I'd make a motion to allow these great people to put in that PEO free library.
I'll
second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to allow the PEO people to put in the library at the park,
Two of them.
or at the pool.
Two of them at the park.
Well, we'll work on that pool.
Okay.
Waterproof books?
Waterproof.
See how good your carpenter is?
Yeah, yeah. We do have another idea there at the park by the pool, but let's get these two going, then I'll come back, okay?
Okay.
Then I'll beg for that one.
Okay.
Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thanks.
Thank you.
Nan.
Thank you.
Mike Ordle, Legion, number 4.
Good evening.
Evening.
Kevin Watts and myself are here representing the American Legion. A couple years ago, we met with, to do a lease agreement that's been expired for 25 years now, and to get that going again. We ran into some impasse there, so we kind of just tabled it for the time being. Wanted to let you know that we're looking at renovating the Legion out there, doing some improvements out there. Started some fundraising efforts. We haven't got them published yet, but we're working on those to raise funding to do that, to bring those buildings back up into good condition, both interior and exterior, along with some improvements for parking and everything else around there. With that, though, I'd like to get an agreement going with the city, because I know that's long overdue here. We've talked about it before. Really, tonight is just to let you know that I've got a draft agreement, and what I'd like to do is meet with the committee that I met with previously to sit down and go through this agreement, because there was definitely some differences in it that we had last time, and just to go through those and see if we're closer together. I did some modifications on here based on what was been talked about last time we met, but I'd like to have an opportunity to meet with the committee here between now and the next council meeting. And I'll leave a copy of the drafted agreement after the meeting.
This meeting be with you?
Yes,
And Kevin?
and Kevin.
That's it?
That's it. Yes, that is correct.
So what you want from us is to be able to meet with the committee from
Yes.
here, right?
Yes, prior to bringing this lease agreement here to the floor for approval. We have some differences I think we're gonna need to work out. There's a couple things in here. I just wanna meet with them first to get their opinions on that. And see if we can get a lot closer than we were last time.
You need a motion for that? Chicken?
Yeah.
Which committee?
Well, that'd
Streets,
be
Park,
the-
and Ballpark would be Swartz, Odegaard, Lichty.
It'd have to be the park committee, won't it?
Yeah.
Cheryl?
Yep.
It'll be the streets committee, because they're streets, park.
Okay,
So,
and who would I contact to set that up, Jeff? That be you to set that up, or come through the city to get it set up, or?
I just go to Jeff.
Yeah, I can check with these two and see when they're available and when you're available.
Thursday is probably our best night for me, or the weekends. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays usually aren't real good for me. for evenings.
Okay. You guys busy this Thursday?
I should be good, I think.
Thursday?
Thursday night, meet here at City Hall in the conference room.
Sure.
That would be good.
Time? What
7?
time?
7.
Jim? Okay.
I'm pretty easy.
Is there anything else for me?
unless you've got something, I think. Does anybody got any questions, Mike?
If you want it to be, I don't know, it's not gonna be open to the public, of course, so if you want it to be private, so nobody tries to get in, we can meet somewhere else. Just saying.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.
I suppose you could have a guy like me sitting in that meeting.
Yeah.
Mike, I'm pretty busy.
The next thing on here is the Outlaw Ball Association scoreboards.
So myself and Mike and Corey are all on the board at the Ball Association, and we've talked to a couple of you. We're looking at doing some long-term improvements to the facilities out there. So we're looking at doing one this summer, and then one next spring, next summer, pending. We're gonna have to do some fundraising and things like that, but the first priority we would like to get done as soon as possible, with permission of the city, is we would like to build a new batting cage. I don't know if any of you have been out there for a while, but the current one is on the west side of the big field there, and when it was put in, it was right up against the fence of the ball field, and the net is constantly blowing into there, and it's constantly tearing the net, and those nets are really expensive. And it's got just a basic gravel base to it, which is really hard because it's hard on baseballs. The kids really can't get good footing in there, so we wanna pour a concrete pad, a 16 by 80 pad, something that's permanent, that's gonna basically last for a long, long time. We would put a turf on there. We would put 6 new 4x4 steel posts in there, and we'd be able to tie cables to that and make the net way more secure, so it's not flapping in the wind. And what we would like to do is move it 3 to 5 feet to the west, just to get it away from that fence a little bit, give it a barrier, so that we don't have this problem in the future with the net, catching the net. So basically, the only thing we're asking of the city is permission to put it there. I did meet with Dustin out there today. He did a locate, for the lights for the ball fields and stuff. The main locate the main lines come right down that trail that comes between those two fields, and there is a line for 2 of the lights that go right down the middle of where the current pad is, or where we're looking at pouring concrete. And him and I discussed that today, and he said if there's an issue where he ever has to dig, he can splice it and trench around where our concrete pad would be. So essentially, it would not be a major issue pouring the pad in that location. So I guess we're just asking for approval or permission. If you have any questions, or if anybody sees any issues with that, We just wanna put something in there that's one of the most important things for a ball program is, you know, teach these kids hitting and having a quality batting cage, is important. And another thing that I'll note, just so you're all aware and you'll be able to come out this year, I think we're up to 169 kids,
Wow.
14 and under
Wow.
this year. So this is a big impact to the community. It's not just, we're not just talking about a couple dozen kids here. I mean, this is probably the most kids we've had out there in a long time. And it's,
And they've been having high school baseball games out
Yep.
there, so,
Tonight they
and they
got
got one going tonight, they had one last night, so they're
That's-
just getting quite a bit of, quite a few folks out there.
There was-
Rogers did a
There was
fantastic,
70 cars out there last night.
yeah. Rogers done a fantastic job of getting those fields in good shape too, so I mean, it's been, it really looks like a totally different place than it did 2 years ago or whenever we came here and talked about it. It's just a complete turnaround out there, so.
yeah.
So is Legion give you their official okey dokey to do this too?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm
Well, in
hoping
the
it's gonna
past,
be on, I'm hoping it's gonna be on leased property here, so.
well, in the past, the baseball and slash softball people just done stuff, and Legion has found out afterwards.
Yeah.
And so that's a big emphasis anymore.
We have talked about that at a couple of meetings about some of the improvements that we're looking at doing there, at the Legion meetings, about some of the improvements that we're looking at doing there. And that was what really spurred on getting this lease agreement in place, because some of the language in there allows for that, or at least in the draft one right now, allows for those improvements to be done with just a simple notification that, hey, we're gonna do it. Same deal.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to allow the Ball Association to put up a new batting cage. Is it new or this moving?
It'll be new, it'll be.
All right, whatever.
And Dustin and I did discuss too, you know, he did a locate on the electrical, we don't know where the water is, so we'll make sure we do a locate before we do any digging or whatever, just obviously to make sure we're not hitting anything. But on the electrical aspect, it's not an issue.
Okay, do we have any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Keep up the good work.
Good job out there, guys.
I've got one other thing though for.
So the second project that we're looking at doing, for next year is, right now, we just have the big scoreboard on the big field and the two smaller fields. We're gonna, with these increased number of, kids that we have, we've got a lot more teams, we're gonna start having more tournaments at our facility. So we wanna install some scoreboards on the two smaller fields. And again, I've talked to Dustin about this, I've talked to Hughes Electric. What we're looking at doing, again, pending fundraising, we're looking at on the west field, we would put one, basically out in the left field, you know, close to the road that comes in, and then on the south field, we would put one in right field, so basically, we'd have to trench across the parking lot there, trench there, and then trench, to the concession stand for electrical, and Hughes Electric is willing to help us with the trenching portion of it, so what we're asking, for the city for next year is help with, the posts to hang these scoreboards and for the wiring, to install these. Because we just think it's absolutely necessary for games to have scoreboards out there so spectators can see what the score is, and especially if we increase these number of tournaments that we're talking about having, I mean, just, you know, part of getting these tournaments, we just need to have those out there, so we will do the fundraising, for the scoreboards themselves. We're looking at getting them through Daktronics, we're just asking for the city's help with the.
Do you have any idea what that cost would be so we can budget for it when budget comes up? Would it be that much?
Dustin gave me a rough estimate. He said with the labor and the wiring, he thought, you know, it was just a guess, he thought it'd be around $5,000. Well, half of that's probably gonna be labor or more, so I would say 2,000, 2,500, you know, I don't know. Material might go
So
up
maybe
to-
we could put a note to make sure we put that in the budget for next year.
Yeah, and that's why we're coming now, so you can budget
Plan for it.
next
Yeah.
year. And then, again, some steel posts, I don't know if you have some laying around, or the county does, that we could use to hang these if you, that wouldn't have to be anything too much, I wouldn't think.
Posts or I-beams or anything,
Anything
Probably
like that.
I-beams, I would
I-beam would
guess,
be
or-
best.
Or tubing or something like that.
Something,
But that will withstand the 80-mile-an-hour wind that we've been getting.
Yeah.
that's
That's
what I was
probably
thinking.
nothing.
or worse.
Yeah. So do we need a motion for that?
No, we'll just put that in our budget for next year.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, thank you very much.
While you're on a roll, you want anything else?
You wanna go for a third? Don't get Joel, he'll start coming up with something.
I can get you the price of the scoreboards. if you want.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot for coming, you guys.
Yes,
and
thank
joining
you.
us. Number 6 is the pool fundraising committee.
I think they forgot they were supposed to come, it looks like.
Oops.
Evidently.
Like,
It's hard to raise money for when you're not here.
we'll just maybe table that till next time.
Yeah.
I think so.
Somebody wanna move?
I'll move to
Table that.
table it till next time.
Well,
These guys did a good job.
Yep, to table it.
I'll second it.
I got off a year ago.
Do we have a second?
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second to table the fundraising committee and put it on the agenda for next month. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Number 7. Coin bank claim and not found on pages 5 through 7.
What do we do now?
Did everybody read these? Copy of these emails?
I think I remember when it happened. It wasn't around here, but I remember hearing it.
Well, we turned this claim in to our insurance company. And where this came from was a line that was, they found when they were digging the sewer up out there was an extra line there. Some way, I don't think they could figure out where it came from. So it didn't get hooked up. And what the claim is about is, they say that the water backed up and did some damage in the basement to Coin Bank. So it was turned over to our insurance carrier, which is Claims Associates. And they declined the claim. Now, I don't know what the next step will be.
Would it have to be our attorney?
Hmm?
Would it have to be turned over to our attorney or what?
I did send the link for meeting, because basically the motion was that none of us are experts here, so we'll let the insurance company decide if we're at fault, they'll pay it, if we're not, then they'll deny it, which is what your motion was. I don't see where we accepted the fault. It was just, we don't know. Nobody's an expert, they don't know, so. I did send that to the insurance company, I haven't heard back from them since, but that was just one of the things that they were questioning. Did we, as a council, say that we were at fault? And
Well, I don't remember you guys saying you were at fault that night they were up here.
Why, is that what they're saying?
they said that
That highlighted portion says that.
the council accepted fault and agreed to file against their insurance to cover the damages.
We turned it into insurance to see if we were at fault. Cause we said the insurance company should be the deciding people, not us. Unless,
Yeah, they had their adjuster come up. Basically, they said we didn't willfully neglect to hook up the storm drains from their roof drains or whatever. Nobody knew about them. If we would've known, they would've said, or Terry would've said, you can't hook them into the storm, but into the sewer, but you can hook them into the storm. Nobody knew they were there. And Coin didn't actually come to us and say, hey, we have roof drains, make sure you hook them up. Also, nobody told us that, so,
They probably didn't know either.
I don't know, but
Were they hooked up previous?
yes.
Into
But
the,
how many, I don't know how
In
many,
the past, that was a common practice, was to hook up everything into the sewer.
Yeah, they were hooking into sanitary sewer.
yeah, not the storm sewer.
Right,
Right. But back in the day, that was
just what they did.
just what they did.
but the city did their due diligence by going in and putting in the dye and all the toilets and the sinks and made sure that the sanitary sewer was all hooked up properly.
Right.
They didn't know they were supposed to go up on the roof and make sure that the storm drains were hooked up somewhere. They didn't know they existed. That's why we were not we didn't have any negligence there. Cause nobody knew. And like Terry said, the alleys have how many hookups from prior buildings over the years. I mean, anything that was there before had hookups there. They weren't all active. So, which is why they go into the buildings and make sure they get the active ones. So where we go from here, I'm not really sure.
so did we both turn it into our insurance companies or what?
No,
They-
just Miller.
That was gonna be my next question. Have they tried anything for the bank?
They didn't want to, for some reason. They said they wanted us to do it, they didn't want to turn it into theirs.
Well, of course, they didn't wanna claim, but
Isn't
I get
that,
that.
isn't that the way it usually works? If one, say like if I turn something into my insurance and they denied it, the other person that was involved turns it in to see if their insurance company pays? Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that's how insurance worked, and then if your insurance companies don't pick it up, then it goes to whatever is determined.
Have they submitted any kind of a bill?
No.
So you still haven't got the actual claim of any damages they're trying to get? They had an expert come in, didn't they, and look at the bricks, the basement? And come to some conclusion that the white chalky substance that they're concerned with was just from years of moisture, if I remember right. I could be wrong. But wasn't that, do you remember that?
I'm trying to remember. I know they had somebody come in.
So if you went back and went, at this meeting that we had, if you went back over the minutes and the tape of what transpired then, and
Jeff listened to him with me.
No, I didn't come back that
No,
night.
he didn't come back?
You went for lunch.
Oh.
I never
Yeah,
came
they,
back.
basically Tammy said, none of us are experts. Nobody here is an expert. We'll send it to our insurance company. If they feel like we're neglectful, they'll pay the claim. If they're not, they'll deny it. Basically, that's what it amounted to was, we'll submit it to our insurance because we don't know.
And that's why, I believe I said that night, that's why we have insurance. We don't know.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, the next thing that will happen, if they're not happy with that, they'll try and sue the city of Mill,
Right, it'll come to litigation.
so,
And the judge will decide it.
yeah.
But wouldn't both of us have to turn it into insurance before that all happens?
Not necessarily.
Yeah, not necessarily. I mean, they are contending that it's the city of Miller's fault, that,
Right.
whatever happened to their building.
But our insurance is saying it's not,
Right, but if
correct?
they think we still are, then they can take us to court.
Right.
They don't have to turn anything into their insurance.
Okay.
So I don't know if there's really anything you have to do unless they decide they're going the next step and they're gonna sue you.
Have you let Coinbank know that it was denied?
Yeah, that's why they sent this letter.
Okay, that's what-
They received the letter up here. They received this.
they received that as well?
Yep.
Okay.
That was actually to them with a copy to us.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
And then this was their response to that.
Well, that was their response to the letter.
Right, that was a response saying that,
But they sent that response to the insurance company, right?
correct.
Yeah. So that's who it's addressed to when he's talking here. It's to Mike Wickman.
Who did the walkthroughs at the bank? It says several council members completed a walkthrough.
I went down there. Before we tore up the sidewalk. Tony did, I bet Bob did. I don't know if Jim or Joe did, I guess.
nope, I didn't.
But all you guys did on the walkthrough is to look to see what the damage was. You never said, damn, our guys are stupid and they let this happen.
Man, we screwed up.
I think what I said was I got the same thing in my basement.
Yeah,
Cause the water is, the table has been so high in the last several years, the table's gone down a lot. Just like you drive out in the fields and all these dugouts and swampy areas that have dried out, what's left is a white chalky substance. And to me, that's what it was like in their basement.
I think that where there needs to be clarification with this is, and if you listen to the tapes, you would know, if it was ever said that we accept fault.
They did not.
Okay, sometimes you can say something wrong.
No, you specifically said nobody here is an expert, so we'll send it to our insurance company and let them decide.
Do you know if they've got this investigation report to them that they asked for?
I don't know if they did or not. I haven't heard if they did.
So why the February 25th to May 12th? Why the,
Delay?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
just paperwork delay or?
I got this right at that February 25th timeframe. Actually, it was emailed to me, so. I don't know why the delay. March 8th is when,
Gary, March 8th, and then
yeah, Gary responded, so.
Blackman didn't respond until May.
Mhm. Well, he was reviewing it, Chris is his supervisor, I think, so.
So basically, you're just giving us information,
Yeah,
and so we can't act on it, or don't need to act on it,
just be aware.
just be aware of it, okay?
We're not gonna act on this tonight, it's just an information deal, isn't it?
Correct.
Okay, is there anything more on the bank deal claim? If not, we'll go on to number 8, which is Microcom service contract found on pages 8 and 9.
We've entered into this before, haven't we, Kelly?
We do it every year, and we do budget for it every year.
And they have been here and worked
Oh, yeah.
for the agreement?
Same thing Mid Dakota's got. Susan's probably aware of Microcom. They're very good.
Well, I make a motion, we enter back into Microcom, their service contract then.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve Microcom's extended service warranty contract. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Oh, I didn't bring the building permits over. Where'd you grab them from? They should be in the front office. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's right there in the front.
Fireworks permit, number 9, found on page 10.
All they're just asking for is permission.
Yep.
Permission to shoot fireworks on July 2nd.
I'll make a motion to approve the fireworks permit.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the
July 2nd.
fireworks permit. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Thank you. Oh, that was your agenda.
Oh, that was my agenda. Now we'll go building permits.
Those are getting passed around because I forgot to bring them over. So if you wanna talk about the next part while they look at the building permit.
Okay, we'll skip that for right now and we'll go to number 11, which is a work session, budgets.
Yep.
I guess what I'd like to see done, I'd like to see us schedule another work session. And we talk about budgets, how they work. And other stuff along that line, so. I guess if we just set a date, I would, and a time. So if everybody, has anybody got any ideas about,
One or two spots open. Better than raccoons.
The month of July is usually the month that all of the department heads get their budgets. So we have, nice to have it done so that you guys know what to look for when you're meeting with the department heads.
be a good idea to get it done sometime in June, I think, wouldn't it?
So are you saying we have to, with that in mind, that we need to have our review of our employees then also? I mean, they start with our department heads doing their review with their employees.
Yeah.
Then after that's done, then in June, we need to meet with the department heads.
So employee evaluations, you'd like done by June?
By June?
No, that won't happen.
No, in June, not by
In
June.
June.
No.
And then,
Jeez.
and then we meet with the department heads and do that also in June. In June.
This year is going really fast.
I know. Way too fast.
It does, seem like that.
We were late last year. Do we need to pick a date? Or we need something to think about?
What do we have in June?
These are the 6th and 20th.
That week of the sixth is gonna be a tough one. The meeting and finance officer, school, and auditor here, and citywide cleanup.
Speaking of that, he picked a date for that, didn't he?
Citywide cleanup, yeah, that's that Friday and, or, I think the 7th and, oh,
I
wait,
thought it was,
June
9th and 10th. or
9th and
something.
10th, yeah, that Thursday, Friday. I was looking at April instead of June.
Did you know that, or?
Yeah, they were talking today about getting stuff to you for the paper.
Who was talking?
Cindy and Christie and Rob,
Either.
yeah.
Okay. I believe they probably will. I thought you were talking about the other person that has to do with the whole site. And
No. I don't know what the county's plans are for their free dump day, I have no idea. But the citywide cleanup is that 9th and 10th.
9th and 10th.
Right.
I'll call Cindy even out.
Perfect.
Yeah, cause there's only 3 things that they were taking, like wood, metal, and something else. Yep, that's Ron.
I know that, they were talking that there's a problem with taking electronics at the dump site. So if you have like computers, TVs, stuff like that, they don't want them. I guess there's lead in them or something.
Oh.
Don't worry about it. I turn them on, they work.
We
They
hope.
don't work.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
And you can't throw them out because nobody will take them.
Yes, 'cause they can't throw them out because they have lead in them.
Guess I don't know.
Well, they have budget training sessions, June, 22nd and 29th.
Yeah, if everybody wants to just go to that, that would be,
I know that was actually mentioned to me by a couple council members when I was first
yes.
going to be here. It'd be a good idea to go to one of those sessions.
Mhm.
I just don't know how to go about planning it and doing all that stuff.
We will help you with that if you want to go
Okay.
to it. We'll-
I'll pick one out and then I'll
I think Christie's planning on going for St. Lawrence to the Sioux Falls one for the day.
Is there a new council member,
Yeah,
That's
the
in
elected
July.
officials, that's in July.
elected officials?
That's the other one
Yeah.
that was recommended that I go to.
Yeah, that's in July, in Pierre, I believe, right? Are you on their site?
Yeah, July 13th in Pierre, yeah.
What'd you come up with the date, the 22nd of June?
That's when the budget training is for
Oh.
the state, so. And I might see if I can steal Rod's PowerPoint and even go over some of that, if not, if very many people are gonna go, I might just see if he'll just let me have the training documents and go over that.
Be nice if they did a Zoom or something on that,
Right.
so you could maybe do a Q&A if you wanted to.
Yeah,
They're worth going to. Especially if you're on the finance committee.
I hear you.
it's gonna go over your head the first time, just ask Dave.
I'm sure it will.
There'll be a few words that'll stick
There may also be a new department head that can go to budget training.
Actually, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
To mention to him.
Yeah, it would be nice if that one would have been a Zoom one, but he likes people in person.
So you said the one on July 13th is in Pierre, right? A day-long class training?
Like,
Yeah.
Then you said the other ones were June 22nd or June 29th?
22nd in Rapid City, 29th in Sioux Falls.
Okay. Maybe after the meeting, I can ask you how we go about scheduling that, Sheila.
Yeah.
oh, I have no internet. I don't know why I don't have internet. All right, has everybody seen the building permits?
Yep.
Folder.
Yeah, go pass them over there. What's that thing you have to approve? Is that a code? You guys don't need to be in.
Okay. The building permits, has everybody looked at these now?
Ron still has to sign them, doesn't he?
And so, yeah. Contingent upon Ron's approval, but
Make a motion to approve the building permits.
Second.
Contingent Upon Ron's approval.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the building, and a second to approve the building permits contingent upon Ron's signature. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Approval of the bills.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second to approve the bills. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. What'd you decide on the work session?
I think we put a date on it. Do we wanna think about it and do it at the next meeting, or?
So, what do you mean by work session budgets? For each department?
No, he just kinda wanted everybody to have an overview of the budget process. Ron wanted all of you guys to have an overview of the budget process. Kind of a review of all the different steps.
So you wanna schedule another meeting, just for the budget process?
Budget, yeah.
Work session?
Yes,
only.
that's it. There will be also a special meeting to approve or to go over the actual budget too in August.
I just want everybody to understand how this all works, this budgeting business.
And I think everybody would understand, the new people, more after they went to this budget training thing,
Right.
especially the finance people. I don't know if you can make it or not.
I've already got dates I got picked out I can do for both of the two different.
Cause that would make it all make a whole bunch more sense after that seminar.
Well, June 22nd, it looked like I could do that.
Sioux
that one.
Falls. Is that Sioux Falls?
I think that was
Rapid
Rapid. I
City.
could make the other one work. I have a doctor appointment that
What
day.
was the date for July
22nd, or no, it's the
July
13th, I'm sorry.
13th?
I don't know why I'm not.
13th was the one in Pier, correct?
Oh, there's.
And that was
there's
the
one.
municipal one.
Yeah, there was one in July here, and then there was a Rapid City and Sioux Falls.
Yep,
June.
22nd and 29th of June, and then the
Yep.
13th of July.
Yeah. And I think like the 13th of July, I think I would be able to go.
The 22nd is the one in Rapid City,
I was just making sure it wasn't on top of that.
and the
family
29th
vacation.
is in Sioux Falls, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. Or,
But I could do the one in
I was
Pier.
trying to find it here, I don't know why my,
I think Jeff, you were looking at it, weren't you?
yeah, South Dakota, I don't know why my.
What's the question?
The 22nd is it's in Rapid City, and the 29th is in Sioux Falls.
Right.
13th is in Pier.
Yep.
Okay.
The June ones are budget training. The one in July is elected officials workshop, covers a lot of things.
So then we should wait to do the budget one until after we attend those classes, right? Is that what you were thinking before?
That, I mean, to me,
It'd make more sense.
That'd make more sense.
Yeah.
And then you two, if you could both go, could actually give the class.
No.
Well, I could go to the one on the 13th in Pier, so.
Okay.
probably
I'm
have to plan
surprised you
on it.
don't put that on YouTube.
Yeah,
or do it earlier in the year.
If your budgets are due in August, you're going in June, that's,
Yeah.
if
okay,
they
well,
did
we'll
like
get
that.
it. After the meeting, I can get mine scheduled
Okay.
with you.
We can send a camcorder with you too.
There you go.
You can video it.
Give me a camera, body cam. Police department have body cams, I'll just wear that.
There, you can wear that, and he can get
Perfect.
it all that way.
We might should wear one here anyway. So then we're looking at the very first part of July for Ron's session, right?
Basically, yeah.
If that's all right with him.
If it's all right with Ron.
Okay, if there's nothing else, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn.
Ron, you're supposed to give me a heads up so I can be there.
You rush on that.
Is it a race to see who can?
Is there,
Yeah.
is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried, the meeting's adjourned at 9:05.
I might just go the July 13th one.
After 7 days, you try
Well, that's, to me, that'd be the one to go through.
But that's not just budget, that's a workshop.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like
Got a
it.
little bit of everything, which is good.
Yeah, see, that'd be better, cause I'm not on the finance committee anyway. I still should have. it.
Very true.
It's past 9.
The ordinance
Very true.
Because like if you're doing the department head stuff or whatever, you still have to know
Right.
their
well,
Well, I don't think, I'd have to look.
there isn't that many
20th
camping
is
spots.
totally